Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another RE seminar. This one is going to be conducted by, I'm moderating. My name is Jamie Davidson. I'm head of the Food Politics and Society Research Cluster here at NUS. And it is my great pleasure today to introduce our speaker, Jeffrey Sun-Chens, who has a PhD in materials engineering, has lived in Singapore longer than I have, since 1997. He also cooperates a family farm for corn and soybean production in the USA. Therefore, he's quite immersed in the precision agricultural movement today, which employs satellite images, soil sampling, yield mapping, and prescription fertilizer application on top of soil conservation tillage. Leveraging his farming background, he has given back to Singapore via volunteering with fruit and vegetable rescue with the fridge restock community, the FRC. FRC operates at Pasir Panjang Wholesale Center, where many Singapore produce wholesalers are consolidated. Presently, the FRC recovers more than 10 tons of produce each week and hopes to grow further. Without further ado, Jeff, please.
Okay, sounds on. Yeah, okay. Welcome everybody, and thanks for coming in this afternoon. Welcome to the people online also. And the background for my talk was I live nearby NUS here, and I drove through the campus a lot. And you'll see here on the right side what I'm looking at anyway, there's a hoarding of a new building coming up, and talking about food sustainability. So I've been working with rescue food, and that's quite close to in the sustainability area. So I wanted to find out what's going on in NUS in this area. Hopefully I can stimulate some of you guys to be interested to do some type of a collaboration work, and you'll hear the details of this in my presentation. So we'll start with my first slide. And okay. Oh, okay. That was me. I'm sorry. Patience, everybody. We're learning the learning the system. Okay. So as you heard in the introduction, that I've been in Singapore a long time. In the last 5 years, I've tried to give back and get back into food-related activity. So I've been doing food rescue for about 5 years, and I'd like to teach you guys a little bit about what is the situation in Singapore. And I think it's opening the door to an opportunity, and I'll discuss that in my last slides here. I hope I can get some interest from you folks. So a little bit more about myself. Okay, I should be looking at the screen up here. I have a PhD in metallurgical engineering, and what brought me to Singapore was to set up a materials fabrication for the semiconductor. Actually, we had a bonding wire factory in 𝗏𝗏𝗂𝗏. And so that needed my metallurgical background. And as you might know, and semicon is kind of dwindled in Singapore, and the lots moved off to China, but I still had contacts, and I still do consulting in this area. But as a consultant, I still have some free time. And about 5 years ago, I joined this FRC fridge restock community, and we'll talk more about that in the later slides. They have a web presence, and so you can see on the slide here that where you can find the information about FRC, or you can just type FRC Singapore and you'll get them. Okay. So let's start from the top, maybe. What's the ideal goals for the Singapore food supply? Well, every country would like to produce all of their own food, right? I mean, it's just from a security point of view, that's what you would like. From a local job creation, that's what you would like. And also, when you bring in the food to be produced locally, you're going to have a short supply chain. You're going to have minimal logistics, and that cuts out waste also. If you look at the landfills, probably food is the most energy intensive product that you'll find in the landfill. I mean, how much energy did it take to make, each kilo of that waste? And so conservation of food is actually very important for the planet, just besides the fact that, we want to feed as many people as we can. And it's also very anti-green, because all of that carbon in that food will decompose, and it's going to go back into the air as CO2. So we really want to minimize the food waste in our supply chains. So Singapore is a progressive place. There's lots of talk about, how to design a better society. You've heard about goals for Singapore. They actually just got modified for Food Story 2 in this year, 2026, where they want 20% of the fiber and 30% of the protein to be produced in Singapore locally. I think it's 2035. Protein is actually fish and eggs, because we don't have meat production in Singapore. So unfortunately, if you look at the whole farming, you look at seed technology and fertilizer technology and the equipment to process food, if you make advancements on all those things, it actually helps the whole food system in the whole world. But Singapore always has the disadvantage of the land, which is your rental, the labor, the energy, and logistics. So if you want Singapore to be more competitive, seed science, for example, is very important for the world, but it's not going to necessarily help Singapore, because it can be used everywhere, and that brings the cost of food down everywhere. So the Singapore goals are going to be more impacted by these non-agricultural related costs: land, labor, energy, logistics. So if we want to do something more with food, and we want to do it right now, then try to make a case for you that, we should be switching and looking at what we can do with the food that we already have. Give me a second. So food, as we all know, is quite precious, but ironically, we waste about a third of it that comes into Singapore, and that sounds like, that, oh, Singapore's a bad place and the people that are working in food are, abusive and don't care. No, it's not really like that. You need to understand what is the reasons why there's so much food waste. And I'm going to try to explain a little bit about this in the talk. And that kind of leads into what I'm hoping for, to get some interest from you guys to work on a collaboration. So let's look at the food waste in the Singapore supply chain. We have the wholesaler, we have supermarkets, food shops, and then we have consumers like ourselves buying food from the supermarket, and also like restaurants. So I'll work from the bottom up on this chart. The restaurants and direct food users like ourselves, there's really going to be like a personal plea there to get people to not waste so much food. Don't buy more food than you're going to eat. Don't go to the supermarket and buy food that you don't have plans to prepare, to cook, and actually consume. Because if you let it in the refrigerator for too long, okay, it's going to be lost, and then that's a waste. So there's a different set of issues there, more on a personal level, but I'm looking to do something more like on a company level. Number two, there is the supermarkets. Well, the supermarkets are a business, right? So they have their own economic incentives not to waste food. That's quite obvious. So they need to understand how much their customers will buy. They need to plan accordingly. They need to handle it in such a way not to waste it. So the main thing I want to talk about in the rest of this talk is going to be, number one, is the wholesaler. The wholesaler is the biggest and the easiest opportunity we have in Singapore to try to reduce our food waste. This wholesaler is involved in importation, because we don't produce it here, and then they're going to do a sorting, and then they're doing the shipping to their customers, which could be number two or number three. Okay. So to give you some statistics, I should have put a web link here. I realize I didn't do that just now. About 750,000 tons per year is wasted in Singapore, and that turns out to be about 15,000 tons per week. About 1/3 of the total food that's brought into the country is wasted. So that if you just do all the math, it's roughly about 400 grams per person per day. That's, you eat roughly a little over a kilo of dry food a day. 1/3 of that, it's going to be roughly 400 grams. About 80% of that type of waste goes into landfill. So it's very energy and carbon intensive waste. As I mentioned before, we want to try to minimize that. Okay. But we have a great opportunity in Singapore, and the reason for that is that 65% or so of the produce wholesalers in Singapore are all located in one location. This goes back, I don't know, historical back to maybe even pre-war times, but this 𝗵𝗵𝗄𝐶 Pasir Wholesale Center, it's actually from this building that we're at right now. It's just down next to the shipping port, right next to West Coast Park, just actually walking distance from here. The advantage when you have all these wholesalers in one place is that the institutions like this 𝗃𝗺𝗄𝐶 that I'm working with, we have one place to go to so we can put together all the different types of surplus and ugly fruits, and we can get them to within the same day, we can get them to the communities in Singapore. So that makes the economical logistics of doing that very possible. If the wholesalers were located all over Singapore, there would just be no way that, we couldn't go around to all of those, collect up all the stuff and then redistribute it. It would just be too expensive to do. So this is really a great blessing of how Singapore just naturally worked out to have this all in one place. Okay, here we go. So there's two types of excess that I see in this 5 years of working with 𝗃𝗺𝗄𝐶. So I'm trying to give you an example with just as a pineapple as one. And this actually, the example applies to every type of fruits that you go into the supermarket and that you will see. So, but pineapple maybe is the easiest one to explain. So when you go to a supermarket, you see that everything looks quite nice and quite nicely presented, and everything looks the same. Unfortunately, Mother Nature is not like that. I mean, like people, we have tall people, we have short people. Mother Nature doesn't give you what you see in the store. So what you see in the store, you have to understand it's been sorted, right? You're not just going to pull that out of the garden and you get exactly what's in the store, okay? So I use pineapple as an example because we can see this quite easily in the work that we do at 𝗵𝗵𝗄𝐶, is that it's like a Goldilocks situation. If you see a pineapple with a very tall head on it, and the head, I don't know if you can see my cursor, it's the length of the greens on top. If you see one with an extraordinarily large head, you probably won't buy it. Why? Because in your head, you're thinking like, oh, if I buy this thing with this huge head, I'm not getting any fruit to eat. But it actually, if you look at them side by side, and I have the short ones and long ones here, they're basically the same thing. Okay. So, and then the short ones, it's just not in your mindset. You see this fruit, and then there's just got this little head on it, and you think, oh, that must be mutated. I'm too scared. I don't want to buy that one. So then there's a problem with the supermarkets, because then if you see big ones and you see small ones and you see the just nice ones, you're going to start sorting in the supermarket, right? But when you sort in the supermarket, you're moving stuff around. You're actually, unfortunately, you're doing a little bit of damage, right? Because you touch it, put it down, pick it up, put it down, pick it up, put it down, and you have dozens and dozens of people doing that same thing. Well, then the fruit is slowly being damaged. So if you're a supermarket, you don't want a bad impression that you got an inconsistent inconsistent product. And you don't want people to be spending their time picking and picking. You want them to get their stuff and move along and buy other stuff so they can enjoy their shopping experience. Long story short is that there's a sorting that's going on to make all of the pineapples basically the same size. Same size in terms of the heads. Okay. So I don't know if you were aware that that's the situation or not, but so then what happens then is that the excess ones, the ones that have too big of a head or too small of a head, they're in the old days they were wasted, but then now we have this group like FRC. We can collect these from the wholesalers and give it a second life. Yeah. Okay. So now that's like I'll call that one the ugly fruits. Then now there's another issue about the excess fruits, and this is going to be a little more complicated to explain. So bear with me just a little bit, but put yourself in the shoes of a wholesaler in Singapore. You have let's pick a customer. Let's say you have 50% market share with cold storage. Okay. So now cold storage will make a forecast and say, okay, we think we're going to need 20 pallets of pineapple for all of Singapore. Okay. But then a war breaks out, and guess what? It's Chinese New Year coming up, and people don't want to travel, and they decide to stay home. Well, there's just too many oranges for Chinese New Year, so people are going to want something different, but they want it to be gold, right? Because it's just the natural thing to eat gold-colored things if you're Chinese in the Chinese New Year. So you want pineapple, okay? So then cold storage is going to say, oh, this war come up, and guess what? We're seeing a run on pineapple, and there's 20% more demand of pineapple in the supermarket, okay? So that's a good thing, right? Then there's more business. But now you have this, what does this say now? 50% allocation with cold storage. If you don't have product, when they ask for more product, are you going to keep your 50% allocation? No, you'll probably lose it, right? You're going to be taken down to maybe 1/3 or something like that. So not only does it hurt you for the Chinese New Year period, but you risk the whole rest of the year also. So normally, you typically have to have some excess material. First of all, you don't know what the sorting loss is going to be, and then you need to have a buffer just in case the customers want to have a last minute buy. Okay, so now you look at the total cost of doing business in Singapore. You look at the cost of, remember I told you about the labor, the land or your rental, the energy that you're paying for your refrigeration, and the logistics of shipping it out because you have a very expensive COE on your shipping trucks out to the supermarket. Okay, so if you look at all of those costs, the cost of the food, unfortunately, is not that high. So what are you going to do? You don't want to lose business. You're going to make sure that you have excess material, right? If you don't have that fruit, you can't sell it. And then you're risking your future business. So I hope that all comes together and you can understand the situation. So they're almost always going to have extra material. You have to be err on the long side, and that's just smart business. And so unfortunately, the smart business yields directly into waste because guess what? The war didn't happen, and people did travel, and cold storage didn't increase with their business at the end. Okay, so food waste is actually it's sadly it's too affordable because the total cost of doing business to supply foods to the supermarkets is the food is not the biggest piece actually. So I took this photo at 8:45 this morning when I did my rescue. That's actually a pallet of pineapple, unfortunately, that was not in a good enough condition. They bought it probably before the new year. It was in a cold room. It still came out it's cold, but unfortunately it was too far ripe and we couldn't distribute it. So it gives you an idea of what I'm getting into for my last slides of my talk, that I'm going to try to salvage this type of material. Okay. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about the FRC organization that I've been involved in. FRC, I think, is quite unique in Singapore. There are many organizations that work on food waste. I think FRC is probably the only one that has focused on the distribution side. If you collect all this product, but you have no outlet for it, then what are you going to do? If you're a volunteer and you collect 100 kilo and you got that in the back of your truck or your van or whatever you're using, you can't distribute it fast enough. Well, then you yourself are actually contributing to the food waste because you're not getting it to enough people quick enough. So actually FRC, I'm quite proud that they put a lot of effort into the distribution side. They have 20 sites roughly or so in Singapore, and each one of those sites has volunteers that will collect it off the truck quickly, sort it, set it up on tables, and then get it out to the community within the same day because there's no refrigeration. And so they're doing this all in the community center, like in the common area. So I am a volunteer with FRC on the collection side, and then they have many people, and maybe they're local for that particular site, but they will help out do the distribution. So I'll give you an idea of what it looks like to do the collection here at 𝗏𝗺 Panjang. That's just down the street from us here. So every wholesaler will have different items. You know, this guy focuses capsicums. This guy focuses on greens. This guy focuses on melons. So you go to this site and okay, so somebody's gonna give you a whole bunch of papaya. I don't know if you can see my cursor here. This is a person that gave some papaya. They give it to us in their baskets, and we'll transfer it to a smaller box and then get it out to the distribution sites. So what we have here is just a hallway, and then you see there's a bunch of different things, and we put it in the piles, and then we can load each pile onto a truck so that every site is going to get a very nice variety of fruits. So you see here the trolley is going from wholesaler to wholesaler, and you see different things from the different wholesalers. So this in the lower picture here is a picture of some different greens that we can get. Sometimes they're in big baskets and they just get put into smaller ones. This is a volunteer truck, so you get an idea that all different types of things will go to a particular site, say Bishan or Tampines, like this. Okay, so actually, here is what I just collected this morning, and the people are here. Please come and take something because I don't want to haul this back home again. But maybe for the sake of the camera, I don't know what people are. Can you see that? I don't know if this helps or not. Underneath so here is sweet corn. Yeah, yeah. And I can tell you from experience, this white corn is the best I've ever had in Singapore. So if you really like it, please come and take it. Okay, just apple, large pears, and you know, and they're quite good. There's no damage on it. Yeah, yeah. Again, remember I told you the things about the size. Maybe this one's too big. I don't know exactly. Yeah, capsicum, banana. Please take the bananas. This is anybody can eat these anytime. And then greens would be loose. I just grabbed some. Okay, French bean. Yeah. And chili. And what else do I have? Oh, and grapes. I didn't take everything. I just like, well, this is all I can really haul. So yeah, I put it in a suitcase and brought it today. So again, you folks that are here, please help yourself. Okay. So that's the collection side. So let's go to the distribution side. As I said, this is the part of FRC that I'm the most proud of. Actually, I'm not involved in it, but I think this is the most important part because you're going to collect all these things. They're going to be on a truck. The trucks typically are not refrigerated. It's expensive to have that in Singapore. So you're going to get this loaded onto a truck, and we load typically around noon. We collect all morning. So we loaded like between 12 and 1 o'clock today. then it will get out to the distribution site, and you're going to see some pictures in this slide. And so maybe about starting like at 2 o'clock or so, then they'll be already there and they'll get these laid out. There are most of the community centers will have like an open area here, and they'll set up like a folding table, and then they'll just lay out the goods in an orderly fashion. And they have to do a little bit of sorting also. We don't have time to sort this out. So for example, oranges come in, there'll be a few bad ones. You just pull them out. So maybe let's leave this up for just a little bit. You can take a look around. There is again, almost everything you can think of that you see in the supermarket. There's a good chance we will have it. Maybe not in any particular week, but over a period of like a month or so, you see almost everything. Yeah. Okay. So there's just a variety set up on tables here, and it's actually a pleasure to go watch this, because most of the people there are going to be like, you know, post 50 anyway. They're not going to be they're in the later part of their years because they're not working for the most part, and that older generation, they're okay with things that are just a little bit ugly, because 40 years ago, the supermarkets didn't have all the beautiful things that we have today. And another thing is that, they're going to be carrying it home. So there's no hoarding that goes on that you might be worried about, is that, they'll take what they need to cook for the few days, and that's it. So then when you set it out like that, you don't have to worry about somebody will just grab a whole bunch of it. It actually gets distributed very nicely to a large number of people. And it's really nice for them. They can come along like this. You see here, you get a whole variety. So if you're not fussy what you want to eat for fruits that night, you just, you have a very nice selection of something that's actually very good. Okay. So now the opportunity that I'm going to talk about comes about the ugly stuff that I talked about and all the excess stuff that I've talked about. PPWC is actually, if you go over there, you'll feel, in my view, it's not really like all the way up to the Singapore grade, because they don't really have to compete on an international level. They're selling only to the locals, and if you go over there, you feel like you've gone back 20 years in time in Singapore. So they're basically old school, and that's not any negative indication of what I'm passing judgment on them. No, this is just how it works, because they have labor constraints, and they're just doing things the way they know how to do, and it's always worked for them, so they haven't had a huge motivation to change. But unfortunately, what I see is that they're doing all their inventory tracking mostly, I think, all on the paper notebooks. They might have a computer to do like an invoice. You can't have a relationship with cold storage and not have a computer. You got to give them an invoice. You need to follow their regulations and things. But it's still very old school. That's why you saw the palette there of the pineapple. Most likely, they didn't know that, or they lost track of that palette of pineapple that was there. And why did it come out only today? Is probably because they have a next order coming in, and they needed the space in the cold room. So that's the sad thing, is like, oh, well, we got this order coming in. We got to get rid of something. Okay, yeah, we'll get rid of that because it's already spoiled. So, but when you're running a small business, you have to realize you're wearing so many hats that you can't really fault them for not doing the best job on the food portion, because again, if you look at all of their costs, the food wasn't necessarily the biggest one. So it's a little bit sad and a little bit heartache for me to see that big pallet of spoiled pineapple, but oftentimes the goods are too overripe and spoiled for us to do the distribution. So that's where I'm coming with an opportunity today. So what we need to do is try to find a way between FRC and some outside brain power, but we need to give these guys a simple inventory system. that will be easy to implement. Everybody has a hand phone right now, and now I think that there's an app that we certainly could get set up. I think you can do some type of QR coding, which wouldn't take too much cost to set up. Then you inventory all of the systems, and then the app can tell you, okay, you've got all these pallets. How old is each one? So for example, if you're doing bananas, then of course you have a day by day, because if a banana is more than 3 days old, it's not going to be sellable. So on the, let's say like, okay, bananas. On the third day, the system should give you a prompt and say, this pallet of bananas, you got to find a customer today. Otherwise, it's going to be too far gone, and then you should give it to FRC, and then we'll distribute it, but there won't be any revenue. Okay, so and I think there's opportunity for that. So there are shops that actually, for example, they have their customer base out west where the foreign worker dormitories are. And I'm pretty sure, you know, they would be able to or willing to take slightly lower quality in terms of like ripeness of a banana if you could give it to them for maybe 30% off, 40% off. But then at least you have some revenue recovery, right? Because if you give this thing away with no value, if you let it sit there, you're not getting anything out of it. So at least you can get maybe recover the cost that you got invested in it. Yeah. So I think there's an opportunity that we can help the vendor perhaps get more profit. If he can sell it, that's great. But if they can't sell it, at least they have the visibility that they can give it to us, so we don't see that spoiled of pineapple sitting next to the dumpster. Yeah. Okay. So that's my pitch. I'm hoping I can find somebody in the audience that's going to contact me after this and find a way that maybe we can move forward with that. There is some funding. I've gone online. NEA actually has a program where it looks like there is a grant and award that we can actually get this to be largely funded by the government. Okay. So obviously, if we can do this, there's lots of benefits all the way around. We can help the vendors, we can help the community, we can lower the food waste in Singapore. And that's basically it. I'll take any questions.